Wake that ass up
early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We got a special guest on the Zoom right now. We have Angela Stanton King. Welcome.
Thank you guys so much for having me on the show.
Well, Angela, tell them a little bit about yourself. You're running for Congress in Georgia right now, right?
I'm running for Congress in Georgia in the 5th District against John Lewis. I am from Atlanta, been there most of my life. Most of you may know my story from a while back. I spent some time in prison for a nonviolent charge. Ended up giving birth to my daughter, chained to a bed, came home, went through a lot of trials and tribulations to get to where I am today. Ended up using my story to not only pass the First Step Act, but also make it illegal for women to be chained during childbirth. I ended up getting a full pardon from the president, and now I'm running for Congress to use my story, to use my experiences, and bring hope to our people.
You got a pardon from President Trump?
Full pardon from President Trump.
Now, do you think that you would be a Trump? Do you think you would be a Trump supporter if he hadn't pardoned you?
I've supported Trump before I got a pardon.
And why do you support Trump? What values do you see in Trump that make you a supporter?
I support his policies. He's the first president that's for pro-life. There are, nearly 60 million Black babies that have been aborted since Roe v. Wade passed. And if we talk about Black Lives Matter, then we know that Black Lives Matter even in the womb. He also signed the most historic criminal justice reform that I had a part of. And we freed over 7,000 people from prison. 91% of them were Black. He's also permanently funded HBCUs. He also lifted the federal ban that was against faith-based HBCUs. Before COVID hit, we had the lowest Black unemployment. The fact that the man was willing to listen to someone like me and allow me to influence him to not only pass the First Step Act, but make it illegal for women to give birth in chains, I realized that this man is not the man that they're proclaiming him to be.
I don't have any problem with a person voting their interests. I saw a quote you said, I credit President Trump for being my inspiration. Before she became active in conservative politics, I was a lifelong Democrat just because, monkey see, monkey do. I was just doing everything that my family was doing. I guess we had all been duped. So what made you, get away from the Democratic Party?
Well, my own story, when I came home from prison, I was a convicted felon. I was a single mother. I had 4 children waiting for me. They gave me a $25 check and a bus ticket and said, here, go start your life over. Well, we had absolutely nowhere to go. I couldn't get the welfare that I'd been able to get before. I couldn't get any housing assistance. So I had to figure out how I was going to make it. I had a God-given gift, which was writing. So I wrote my life story. From there, I went on to being a national best-selling author and then starting my own publishing company. Not only that, the part about being a single mother, remembering when I was getting those benefits and how Section 8 said, as a single mother, we'll help you and your children, but the father can't live in the home. Or when I was receiving welfare, they'll say, okay, you'll get this certain amount of money at the beginning every month, but you can only make a certain amount. It wasn't until I was denied government benefits and nobody wanted to help me that I discovered my greatness. And so this road to entrepreneurship is how I eventually became free. And I know if we really want to be free as a people, we got to reduce poverty. Because once we reduce poverty, we reduce crime. We need more entrepreneurs. And if I can do it, anybody can do it.
You can do that as part of any party, though, or being an independent. You don't have to be a part of a party to do that, though, right?
Well, for me personally, I'm a conservative because I don't believe in handouts. I believe in hand-ups. When we talk about the Democratic Party, it's a large focus on welfare, right? People only need welfare for a certain amount of time. We don't need to become lifelong welfare recipients. I'm also not...
Oh, we lost you. There we go.
I'm sorry. I'm also not a Democrat because of abortion. This is my thing. Roe v. Wade was passed off of a lie. As of right now, where we are, we're always crying about being an oppressed minority, but we are always going to be an oppressed minority if we continue to abort our offspring. Abortion is the biggest genocide against Black America. They strategically place their abortion clinics in our neighborhoods. And just about every time you hear a Democratic candidate go on stage, the first thing they say is Black women need access to abortion. So if we really want to restore the value to our own lives, if we really want to say,
right, though, a woman's right for abortion.
I just want to.
If a girl, like let's say a 16-year-old girl was raped, or somebody was raped and they're pregnant, and they don't want to have that child, they don't want to have that experience. You don't feel like it's a woman's right to have an abortion?
So they talk about women's rights and women's choice. We need to first figure out why the government gave us the choice to kill our children and get away with it. Because as a man, you make the child. If you wanted to kill the baby, you would go to jail. You don't have a right to decide whether or not your child lives. Neither should a woman. Even in the instance of rape, let's just talk about it, because I've been raped before. I have a 27-year-old daughter that's a lawyer, still deciding to choose life, because at the end of the day, that child is still partly mine. Now, if you can't kill the person who raped you, why are we killing the child? And in addition to that, rape is only 1% of abortions. So the argument that's on the floor right now about abortion is the Democrats wanting to fund it. It's not necessarily taking away a woman's right, which I don't believe any woman should want to right. Because here's the thing, you taking away someone else's right to live.
Well, I'm definitely pro-choice, and I highly disagree.
I'm pro-choice, and one of the reasons I'll say that is because I think history has proven that when abortion was illegal, women were still having abortions, and they were doing them in very unsafe ways and dying from them. So that will still continue to go on. And then the only people who had access were people who could pay for private physicians, so that they were able to travel, go get that done, pay a large sum of money. So that actually endangered our people who were living in poverty because they couldn't afford to go to a private doctor.
Let me tell you something. A baby dies every time in an abortion. Every time a woman has an abortion, a baby dies. You can't say Black Lives Matter and don't include the Black lives that are in the womb. Now, when you're talking about healthcare,
is it a fetus or a baby?
Let's talk about it. Look up the definition of a fetus. A fetus is a human baby. Now, when you're talking about healthcare and in the Black community, we need to remember the Negro Project and Title X funds. When you go research the history of Planned Parenthood, the founder, Margaret Sanger, was a racist. The Negro Project was about them implementing birth controls into our population, into our communities, to keep us from populating, to keep us from reproducing. Now, the thing of it is, when you guys say you're pro-choice, you have to think about this, the word and the trick. Why is it pro-life and then pro-choice? Because the opposite of life is death. The choice is death. So what we have to decide now is when we are voting is, are you going to vote for your children, your future children to die, or your future children to live? Why not give them access to, it's a choice. What's the choice though?
Life or death.
Okay, so why would a mother choose death for her child? Everybody that's here, even all of us on this live, we got here because our mamas got pregnant. At the end of the day, it's somebody's life. So how is it that everybody that's advocating for abortion has never been aborted? How are you going against someone else's right to live? Because if you understand lifespan development, you know that we all go from being an embryo to a fetus, to an infant, to a toddler, to a child, to a teenager. It's a life. So when you guys say Black Lives Matter,
Context matters, though. If a woman got raped, and I understand you say it's less than 1%, but if a woman got raped, I wouldn't expect her to carry that child.
Okay, let's just say that's fair, and that's the decision for it. If they say, okay, we're gonna make this exception, if a woman is raped, let her make that decision. We still ended somebody else's life that didn't commit the rape. Let's remember that. But what about the other 99%? What about the fact that every time you see an advertisement for Planned Parenthood, it's targeting Black women? What about the fact that 46% of our population has been aborted since 1974 when Roe v. Wade was passed? So when we're talking about the Black vote and how we are the minority, why are we not waking up and realizing that we are not only killing our own army, but also aborting our votes? So what I would like to do as a congressman, because I promise you, everybody is voting for our children to die on the Democrat side. I would love to bring balance. I would love to give opportunity to women, because look, you can't tell me that the only way I can survive or be successful is by having an abortion when I'm a woman that came home from prison and raised 4 kids on my own, which are all a blessing. So if we want them to value our lives, then we need to begin to value the lives of our offspring. My one vote on the floor, the only thing it's going to do is bring balance, because at the end of the day, I want to save Black life.
I still believe in a woman's right to choose what to do with her body and her reproduction.
And
I still believe as
because you
it is her body.
Don't have the same body, but you and your mother don't have the same body. It's not her body. So again,
it's inside of her body.
It's a baby inside of her body. It's still
an embryo.
Baby. So if you can live with,
I still feel that as history has shown,
embryo.
women are still going to have abortions, whether or not it's illegal, and it's a very dangerous practice.
So
when
that's
that does
an excuse
happen,
to support
and it
a
does
racist
end up killing people.
that has
So
wiped out half of our race.
We would rather to support what?
Is that an excuse to support a racist organization that has wiped out half of the Black race?
Planned Parenthood doesn't only provide, Planned Parenthood doesn't only provide abortions for people.
Let me tell you about
they do. They do a lot more work than that as well.
So does every other OBGYN. We don't need Planned Parenthood to provide those services. We can go to any health clinic and get those services. Not only that, Planned Parenthood was just offered $60 million from our federal government for those funds. To take care of those other programs. They walked away from it because the stipulation was that they couldn't use those funds to perform abortion. Now, that is no excuse for us to say we are going to support, and it's documented that this is a racist organization.
Because you believe that doesn't make it that other women have to believe that. You can believe that you're against abortion, and that's fine. You can be against abortion, but you can't make another woman do what she wants to do with her body.
I don't think she's trying to make them.
Why does the Democrat Party have to pay for it? Why do us as pro-lifers, people that believe in life and want your children to live, your future children to live, why do our tax dollars have to pay for those children to be slaughtered? Because not only are they murdered and dismembered in the womb, but then their body parts are sold and some of them are harvested. So what they're voting for on the floor now is funding it. I don't want to support a party that wants to pay for Black life to be exterminated. I do not support the Democrat Party. If you can't give Black women another option besides abortion, and if every time we come up as a Black people, as a community on the floor, the only thing we're being offered is free access to abortion, then that tells me you don't really care about Black life. So
you think that's the only option that's being offered? That's not the only option that's being offered.
So tell me what else
people have options.
Mainstream news.
People have options. They can choose that. They can choose to put a baby up for adoption. They can choose to. They can do whatever they want. And if they choose to have an abortion,
why do you feel like people who don't believe in killing babies should have to pay for it with tax dollars? If you want to abort your child, why do I have to pay for it?
I don't feel like. Well, first of all, I don't think that what you're paying is just for abortions when you pay for services from a clinic. That's not all that they do. That's a small percentage of it.
Them turning away the $60 million in federal funding for those programs. So what I'm saying is what they're asking for is to fund abortion. What we're saying is we don't want to pay for it. And the same thing with sex reassignment surgery. As a conservative, it's not something that tax dollars should fund.
Because you're anti-LGBTQIA.
I'm not don't say that. Don't say that.
I'm just asking.
But you did.
Some of the things I don't agree with. I'm not anti, because when you say anti-LGBTQ, you putting in lesbian, bi, gay, you lumping everything in together. So
what are you anti? What are you against then? Explain. I'm asking. So what are you against, ma'am?
This is what I don't agree with. I don't agree that I should be forced to recognize a man as a woman if he has had a sex change. I don't believe I should be forced to recognize that. I also don't believe that children should be associated with anything LGBTQ. I'm not against anybody grown doing what they want to do, but I am against associating children with that, and here's why. When you break down LGBTQ, what it means and what it stands for, it's all sexual preference. Children shouldn't be identifying with sexual preference. So when you have gay characters in cartoons, in every essence, you are opening up the door and teaching children about sex. This is my opinion. I feel as though laws need to be in place that protect children, That's all where I'm at.
You know, gender and sexual preference are two
it.
different. Gender and sexual preference are two different things. Just because you're associating you are a certain gender doesn't mean that you're having sex and that's a sexual preference.
And so let's talk about that. Even when it comes to children, why are we confusing children with gender identity?
I don't think that children are confused when they say, this is the body that I feel like I have, and this is what I am. I don't think anyone's forcing it on them.
If I say I'm a turtle, does that make me a turtle?
Is that a gender that's an option for you?
I would respect your right to be a turtle,
just because I feel like it. So wouldn't you say that? Wouldn't you say that being a woman is more than a feeling?
Angela, I would respect your right to be a turtle. If you wanted to be a turtle, I would not tell you that you're not a turtle.
Like
okay, but you don't have the right to make my children believe that but I don't have the right to use my influence or make laws to make children believe that you can magically turn into a turtle when we know that it's not true. So there's a certain thing called gender dysphoria, and it's very similar to people that have anorexia. So people that have anorexia, in their minds, they believe that they're fat. They really are not. Gender dysphoria is the same thing. We have people that believe that they are in the wrong bodies. They are not. So here's my thing. Having an operation to make you look like the opposite sex does not make you the opposite sex. I feel as though it's confusing children. Now, I'm not here to take away gay rights. I have a son that's a part of the community. I have an aunt that's a part of the community. Plenty of friends. I love them. But I stand on what I believe, and that's only two genders.
So your son is gay. So you can't be. There's no way you can't be anti-LGBT.
Yeah, I raised them. I love them to death.
So you're anti-trans.
Here's the thing, you can't. I'm anti what?
Trans rights.
Yeah, I love to use that word. I never said that. Grown people can do what they want to do, but why are we confusing children? Why are we trying to make children believe in something that's not real?
I think that
kids can get a sex change. No children can get a sex change. So you're mad like Dwayne Wade and how he's raising his son.
Yes, they can. You don't know that there are laws allowing children to be given hormone blockers that's actually sterilizing them now and keeping them from producing breast stuff before they've even gone into puberty. Yes, they are. And so there need to be laws against that. So I just took my daughter to the doctor the other day. She was only 15 years old. She just turned 16. And the first thing the doctor asked her was, what gender do you identify with? First of all, ma'am, that's a minor. She identified with what she was born. She was a female. She's known she's a female ever since I gave birth to her. So why are we encouraging mental health? Why are we allowing them to confuse our youth, confuse our children? When you grow up and you're an adult, if that's what you want to do, you have every right. I believe people should love who they want to love, absolutely. But when we come to our children and giving them options and now allowing them to make informed decisions, we need to tell them the truth.
I think that it's easy to say that when you haven't. Go ahead, Charlamagne. I think it's easy to say that when you haven't experienced it and you don't know what it's like. But as a person who I myself know many trans women, I understand that they felt like, for a majority of them, they felt like that since they were young. I was born and I was assigned this gender at birth as a male, but I feel like I'm a woman.
Angela,
and that's the gender that I identify with.
Listen to what you're saying.
I think that it is dangerous for you to tell a child they can't be who they are, because that leads to all kinds of mental trauma later on in life.
So let's do this. So you saying, first of all, let's talk about what you said. You said all of your transgender friends, and I have them too, saying that they felt like they were a woman. Well, being a woman is more than a feeling. Feeling like a woman doesn't make you a woman. And when you tell me that I'm telling a child, let's just say my son who was gay, if he told me he felt like he was a female, that I would be doing damage to him by telling him that he's a male, I feel like I would be doing damage to him by telling him that he is a female, which would also force him into dismembering his body and believing that he is a female, because even after they go through the surgery, reality hits. They are still not biological women. So the healthy and responsible thing to do as a parent is to tell your child the truth and teach them to love themselves and be comfortable in the skin that they are in. So you can't tell me you're telling people to accept themselves for who they are when they are not accepting themselves for who they are.
But you're telling them who they are instead of letting them be who they are.
No. I'm not telling them who they are. I'm helping them understand who they are, because what you want to do is tell them a lie. Because you can tell a man all day he a woman.
I don't think you're telling. I don't think anybody's telling a child that if they feel like that and this is who I am.
You would be
I'm not going to say
your child,
that's
and
not
you would
who
be
you
lying
are.
to your child, and you would be an irresponsible parent to lie to your child and make them believe that they are something other than they are born. But however, I don't want to waste too much time on anything negative or creating this atmosphere like I'm against LGBTQ or I'm against anybody, because I'm not. I just have my beliefs. But I would love to talk about unemployment and what I would like to do for the District of Georgia.
We definitely gonna get there, Angela. I want to ask you one question though. As you raised your son as a liberal, so as your views
I
changed,
didn't.
You didn't? How'd you raise your son?
I didn't necessarily push any politics. I didn't necessarily.
No.
I
don't mean on him.
So you let him be what he wanted to be.
Yeah, I don't mean on him.
He's a gay male. I would never ever encourage him to be a female. You can be gay and still be a man.
Yeah, no, what I meant was your views was that of a liberal. So as your views switched to conservative, did that change?
No, actually,
parented?
to be completely honest, my views were always that of conservative, which most Black people are. You understand? But I was always voting Democrat because we just had this monolithic thought process, and we just went ahead with it because that's what everyone else was doing. But when it came to traditional family values, when it came to being entrepreneurs, hand up, not hand out, starting your own business, when it came to things like faith, the freedom of religious rights, those things, I had always had that mindset, but was still voting Democrat, voting against my own interests.
Well, let's talk about unemployment, because your president, Donald Trump, is the reason that 40 million people are unemployed right now because of his response to coronavirus.
Well, I would disagree. I would disagree. I would disagree. But let's talk about this.
Are you disagreeing about his response to the coronavirus? What do you disagree about?
Well, let's talk about his response. What about his response did you guys have an issue with?
I mean, the fact that he denied it in February and said that, it was only one case.
Well, in January, he tried to close the borders against China, and they called him a racist and a xenophobe and a bigot and everything else. And then he actually did close the borders to China. Not only that, he mentioned COVID at his State of the Union speech on February 4th, the one that Nancy Pelosi ripped up. And then she went to Chinatown saying that COVID wasn't a big issue. So I think that because this is something that has happened, this is his first time in presidency. I'm not here to defend him. I know a lot of times he say things that are wild. I'm more focused on his policies, but I do think that he handled it as best as he could and his administration, especially if we look at what's happening now. I have to question the validity of COVID when we have all of these Democrat leaders that were telling us it wasn't safe for us to go to church, it wasn't safe for us to open our businesses, but yet we see them all lined up at a funeral with 3,000 people after several people have lost their loved ones and wasn't even able to bury them. So I have to question the validity of it at this point.
And you don't think Donald Trump is a racist?
Why would I think Donald Trump is a racist when I know his history? Before Donald Trump ran for president, no one thought he was a racist.
They sure
you had
did.
some
He didn't
I don't know that that's true.
So let's talk about that. Let's get factual. And again, I want to talk about what I want to do for the District of Georgia. I don't want to spend too much time trying to defend Donald Trump, but that was an issue about him not renting to people that had Section 8. Now, I got a brother who has property and is not going to rent to people on Section 8. I know people in my own community. I know people that wouldn't rent to me when I was on Section 8. So then they talk about the Central Park 5. Why did Donald Trump go out of his way to run these ads? And guess what my response is to that? Guess what my response is to that? Guess what my response is to that? Y'all more mad at Donald Trump than y'all mad at Antron's own daddy for making him confess. First of all, I got an issue with the daddy. Y'all mad at Trump. I want to know why his father made him confess and knew that it was a lie. Second of all, those 5 men, God bless them, and I fight for criminal justice reform. I'm glad they are free. I'm also glad that they have been compensated. But I also know that Donald Trump has freed nearly 7,000 people, 91% of them Black. I also know that Joe Biden has not apologized for his 94 crime bill and will not apologize for it, which has thousands of Black men in prison right now that I am fighting for to be free. So how are you more upset about Trump, about 5, than you are about Joe Biden, which left the majority of Black America incarcerated?
I would like
On
it to
three
stay on
strikes,
track,
you're
though.
out.
If we're
You probably
talking
understood
about
it,
Trump,
Sheldon.
instead of comparing and talking about other people, we're talking about just Trump here. If we're going to talk about that, instead of saying, well, why didn't this
No,
person
we're
do
gonna
that?
talk
Or why
about
didn't this
all of
person
it
do
because we
that?
need to discuss
That's-
the hypocrisy.
That's like a Black Lives Matter. Then you say, well, what about black on black
Yeah, I
crime?
mean,
If
We're
it's a Black
talking about
Lives
Donald
Matter,
Trump.
be worried about what really impacts Black people, which is mass incarceration, not those 5 men. Because those 5 men are home. Let's talk about our brothers and sisters that's incarcerated right now that we need to get out.
We can get
I mean,
into
I
that,
would-
but that
I would
shows
definitely
that Donald
push-
Trump is a racist. The fact that he wouldn't let black people rent into the
There-
building, the fact that he put
No,
out a
I don't
full-page
believe
ad
that
for
he's
these
a
black,
racist,
for
but he
these
also
innocent
put
black
up
people
when
that
Jennifer
never
Hudson
and
family
never
was
apologized
murdered.
for it.
When
Now,
Jennifer
Ms.
Hudson
King,
family was murdered,
we let you
he
speak.
put
You
her
gotta let us
up.
speak too. You can't speak over us
But
when
I
we're speaking,
can't.
man.
But y'all lying.
Well, y'all
But
all
y'all
talking
are
How are we
about
lying.
lying?
You are
How are we
Well,
lying.
listen, I
You
wanna-
can't speak
You are
over us.
lying.
Well,
Because you
Angela,
want to sit up here and say,
well, Angela, in 1973, an employee, when he got sued, an employee did quote in court documents that they were told to rent only to Jews and executives. When there was a lawsuit against
Said
Trump
nothing about
management,
Section
Nothing to
8.
do with Section 8.
Focused on 39
Okay.
properties
is
in
this
New York
around the
City.
same time? So is this around the same time that he
1973.
helped Jesse Jackson start the Rainbow Push Coalition? Is this the same time he gave him a floor on the 10th floor in the Empire State Building and gave him $1 million to help this organization that still helps us? So are we talking about an issue with one employee? Maybe he got upset. Maybe he said something. We're going to stay focused on the past. Can we talk about what Donald Trump is doing right now
Well,
for Black people? Because y'all talking about
Listen, there's been many, there's been a
What-
long history of racist acts. that he's done. It's not just one thing.
That Obama, and okay. So you want to sit up?
Obama's
here and
not running for
debate whether or not he's
president.
a racist,
You just can't
and
answer
but
what we asked.
he did run for president. Trump is the president right now and has done more for Black people.
So you're saying
than
Obama's a
did in
racist?
8 years. I'm saying Trump did more for Obama than Trump did more for Black America than Obama did in 8 years that he was in office.
What
Let's
has
talk
he
about
done for those? Let's talk about it. What has he done?
I've
What has
already
he done?
said it. I've already given you the rundown. I've already talked about criminal justice reform. I already talked about permanently funding HBCUs, which their funding was snatched away during the Obama era. I also talked about faith-based, a ban on faith-based HBCUs that was lifted. He also designated in particular office in the White House just to deal with HBCUs. HBCUs were coming back every single year for funding. He made it where they were funded permanently and did not have to do that. He has created opportunity zones. He had the lowest Black unemployment. But again, it's not about Trump.
You know,
because if we're
opportunity
going
zones
to
are
talk
not
about
only for black
politics,
people. You know that, right? You know, opportunity zones are
but
not only for
listen,
black
you
people.
bring them to
And you know,
distressed
opportunity
areas. We
zone is
need
for
them
people
right
that can
now, especially.
afford to stay in that building and not sell at. Which
So we
people,
don't
that
have-
means that for people that have money.
whose
And
issue
most of
is
the
that?
majority of the people that have money are white
so
people.
whose issue is that?
So
So
if you want to
whose-
talk
whose
opportunity
issue is
zone in
that?
real estate, we can have this conversation all day. We
Hold
can
on,
go
hold
that
on,
long.
hold on,
The
hold on, hold on,
opportunity
hold on,
zone is
hold on.
not made
Don't
for
tell
black
me,
people.
don't
So
tell me we
let's
don't
get to
have
that.
enough Black people that have money that can take advantage of
I
these
didn't say
huge
that. I said
tax
the
breaks.
majority
Don't
of
tell
real
me-
estate
wait a
investors are
minute,
white,
wait a
and they can
minute, wait a
hold
minute.
down
It was
not
an
playing stuff
opportunity.
for
It's
years.
an
So opportunity zones are
to
not for only
rebuild
black people.
Black communities. If Black people
Opportunity
do
zones
not
are not
step
only for
up,
black people.
Hold on.
It-
Let me hear what
listen,
Angela's saying.
hold on. This is what I'm saying. Opportunity zones are for Black communities to rebuild our communities, which is exactly what we need now, especially with all of the things that have been burned down in our communities. We have enough Black people in power with money to take advantage of these tax breaks. But what we have is a lot of leaders and people with money that truly do not care. Okay, so funds can be created. We can put together pools. This is an opportunity for us to come together and rebuild our neighborhoods and rebuild our communities. So we can't always just sit back and say we're gonna point the finger at somebody else.
Right.
When we gonna have accountability?
But opportunity
Because
zones are not
gentrification-
only for black people. Opportunity zones are for everybody.
It don't.
It's
but
not
it's
just the
for
thing that
our
says only
community.
African Americans can
But
buy
it's
these
for our
properties. Opportunity
communities.
zones is for everybody,
but
white,
you're missing
black,
it.
Jewish,
You're missing
for
it.
low income
You're
areas,
missing
low
it.
income areas that you
They're-
can
You're
invest.
missing it.
But
You're missing
they're for
it.
investments for
It's
our community. That's the
our
point.
communities.
They're for
It's
investments
for
for our community, but
distressed
it's not
communities.
just
It's
for
for
black
our
people.
communities.
Yeah.
And if they come to our communities, they bring jobs. Just like the Wendy's we saw burn down up the street in Atlanta. You got 15 people that lost their jobs. These are Black people. It brings opportunity to people in our communities.
You know
So
what
don't
they're doing
say
with
that it does
opportunity
not
zones,
help
man?
us.
Can
No,
I
I'm just
can I
explaining.
switch?
You know what
All
they're doing
right.
with hold on one second. You know what they're doing with opportunity zones? Kind of like what they did in Jersey City, kind of like what they did in Newark, kind of like what they did in Harlem, kind of what they did in Brooklyn. They come in
Who is
and
that?
take those properties and they
Who is
wait
that?
for the time period. And then when the time period happens, what do they usually do?
So-
They raise the rent, they push us out, and then we don't own these areas. I don't know if you've been to Harlem or if you've been
I
to
have a
Jersey City,
question. I
Hoboken,
have a
or Brooklyn
question
in
for
certain
you.
areas.
I
The
have a
majority of
question
people
for
that you gonna talk over me? I'll let you speak. Can you let me speak, please?
Go ahead. Go
I'm
ahead.
just asking. I'm not trying to be disrespectful.
Go ahead.
I let you speak. I'm just saying. Let me finish speaking. So in those areas, what happened? They usually push us out, raise the rent high, and push us away from those areas. A lot of areas in Brooklyn, in Harlem, in Jersey City, in Hoboken, in Detroit, in Chicago downtown, we don't live in those areas. We were from those areas, but we were pushed out. Raised the rent, opportunity zones. People came. They gave them rebates. They gave them all these refunds. After that was over, pushed us out, and we can't afford to go back to those areas. So that's what those zones were. It's not just for African Americans.
Now can I speak?
You said you had a question.
Again, at the end of the day, we need to have some accountability. You keep saying they. Black people have the same access to do the same exact things. At some point, we're gonna have to stop pointing fingers. Yes, we do. Enough of us got money. We can go in here and take advantage of these tax breaks. If y'all got homeboys, y'all interview all type of celebrities. If we really want to rebuild Black Street, if we really want to restore Black America, then we still have the opportunity right now. Pull our people together. Let's go take advantage of these tax breaks. Let's create our own opportunities and employ our own people. That's the answer, because we can't keep sitting back waiting on somebody else to make something happen to us. Because when they open up these loans and they open up these access, we have the same exact access, but we do not take advantage of it. So the majority of us, go ahead, Angela.
No, I was going to say, since we're talking about access, do you think it's an issue with the Paycheck Protection Program that they're not saying what companies got the money and that there's not full disclosure on what was happening with those funds?
Does it need to be full disclosure to the full public, or does it need to be full disclosure just to HUD or SBA? Who needs access to it?
I mean, I think there has to be some accountability. I think we should know where is that money going, because there's a lot of businesses that were small businesses that weren't able to access those funds because they were depleted so quickly.
I can tell you, I know for a fact several small Black businesses in the Atlanta area that did get access to those funds. I mean, we even saw a huge article about Carly Red's boyfriend getting $2 million and going and buying a Rolex and paying child support. I think what it is that we need to make sure that we are educating our communities on how to take advantage of these opportunities. So if they gave out the PPE loans and said, hey guys, fill it out, how many of us actually went through the process of filling out the paperwork? Or if we didn't know how to properly fill out the paperwork, made sure that we engaged our communities for them to get access. So we can't say, oh, they just gave this money to all of these rich or corporations. That's not true.
I didn't say that. I was just asking for if you think there should be disclosure.
60% of all small Black, there should definitely be disclosure, but 60% of all small Black-owned businesses didn't even apply for the PPP, and that's why Robert Smith started QuickBase.com. Yeah,
you know, access. A lot of us can't get access. A lot of us can't get loans. You know, it's difficult for a lot of African Americans to get loans. You know?
But that's why Robert Smith did QuickBase.com and Diddy did OurFairShare.com to ensure that. But 60% of the people didn't even go for it. But let me ask you a question, Angela. What would be your plan to sustain
our communities?
Okay.
We do. I agree with you that our community definitely
if we educate them on, because remember in school, I don't know about you guys, but I was raised in the hood. In school, they didn't teach us about credit. You know what I'm saying? They didn't teach us about finances. Many of us they didn't teach us about entrepreneurship. And that's something that I like to see our children taught in school. I mean, it's like we just jump out there and then we don't take advantage of the stuff because we don't have the education. It's not because we can't get it. We're not educated on how to get it. We're not educated on how to establish credit. We're not educated on how to get loans.
Okay, Angela, can I ask you another question? Go ahead.
What would be your plan, Angela, to sustain people who are still not working because of your president when the unemployment payments run out in July?
Unemployment definitely runs out in July. African American unemployment right now, I want to say, is at 16.8%. Nationwide unemployment is at 13%. I want to focus mainly on disaster recovery management, especially after what we saw with COVID, creating job creation, job growth. I think that would be an immediate fix and impact. And not only that, but teaching a lot of people in our inner city and disadvantaged communities about entrepreneurship. You know, people need to know where their next check is coming from. And like I told you before, if we can reduce poverty, we can reduce crime. I know that's why I committed a crime 15 years ago. I was a single mother. I wanted to take a chance on giving my children a better life. And I made a decision and thought I could get away with it. Just as we see with a lot of people returning home and coming home from prison, these people that have been serving 20, 30 years, if they come home and they don't have access to gainful employment, they're going to go back to doing what they usually do. If we want to see crime rise, we need to not create jobs, not create entrepreneurship. I think for our communities, we all have a God-given gift. Mine was writing. I learned how to take that and make it into a profitable business. We have people that know how to cook. We have people that know how to paint. We have people that know how to work with their hands. We can create our own businesses and begin to build our own wealth. And for me, that's one of the main focal points of my campaign.
You know,
all right, one question I wanted
oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, one question I wanted to ask you is, why do you think so many white supremacist groups support Donald Trump?
I think it's because they were white supremacists when Obama was in office. And I think that because Obama was a black man, they happy to see any white man in office. It could have been Hillary Clinton. They would have supported her. Anybody besides a black face. I don't believe that the president has control over who supports him. I don't. And I think.
Do you think he should denounce them? Do you think he should denounce them?
He has. You want me to pull up the video and show it to you?
Well,
all you gotta do is go on. All you gotta do is type in.
You can't call them fine people.
Google President Trump denounced KKK and white supremacy. There's a whole video of him doing that, and he also designated them a terrorist group. Google that also.
But you can't say fine people on both sides in some place like Charlotte.
So can I get, because we back on Trump again versus my campaign, but let me just say this. I was just on the ground in Minneapolis, right? And when I was on the ground in Minneapolis, I had people with me and we were doing a very peaceful protest. And then there were people that were not doing a peaceful protest, busting people on the head, breaking stuff and all of that. So in my honest opinion, when the president said there are very fine people on both sides, he was talking about the people that were peacefully protesting. If you go watch the entire clip and not just the snippet that they put out to try to make it seem as if he was saying something racist, you would have a better understanding. What I want us to do is not look at me as a black woman and think that I'm a sellout or I'm not for black people, because at the end of the day, you would, back in the day, they would have called Harriet Tubman a coon for going to work with white people to free the slaves. I'm not going to apologize for the favor that God has given to work. This administration.
Angela, Harriet wasn't going to work. It's not like she woke up in the morning and said, I'm going to go clock in for this slavery today.
Administration. I advocate on behalf of Black America with the administration. I'm not employed by the administration. Every time I go to the White House, I'm going there with an issue for Black America.
Do you feel like you have to be loyal to Trump because he pardoned you?
I don't feel like I have to be loyal to Trump, but I'll tell you something. I am a loyal person. I do understand loyalty. If Trump has done something that I feel would hurt Black people or would hurt disadvantaged communities, I would be the first one to say something. I would not align myself with someone or something that I believe was intentionally bringing harm to my communities. If we focus on the policy and not the person, because here's my thing. I didn't like my grandmother. My grandmother was mean. Every time I asked for something, I got cussed out. She never said anything with love, but she never did anything to harm me. She always had my best interest. She was not a very nice person. We may not like what Trump do or what Trump says. We may not like what Joe Biden says, but we need to pay attention to what these people are doing. Damn what they are saying. What are you doing? What type of impact is it having on us as a community? Is it benefiting us? Black America, this is what we need. We need to restore our communities, okay? We need to get Black men out of prison, get them back in their homes, have them raising our children. We need to rebuild Black Wall Street. It is time for us now to act and to come together and make these things happen for us instead of depending on a government system to do it. The reason why
Angela. No, I have to push back on you because Trump's policies have hurt Black people. I mean, you talk about the economy, you talk about the tax laws that are disproportionately.
No. Be specific.
When you talk about
now.
Well, they were disproportionately left out of Trump's tax cuts. African-American households receive only 5% of the benefits from Trump's tax law, despite making up 13% of U.S. households. When you talk about education, Trump rolled back Obama-era efforts geared toward protecting black students from discrimination
Trump,
and school punishment.
Hold on.
Come on now.
Did you not see Trump pass school choice? Did you not see the black girl at the State of the Union that he gave and that he gave a scholarship to? So school choice is what we need, because our children are stuck in public schools while their children get to go to private schools and charter schools and have access to more opportunity. So what we have to do is be factual in what we're saying, because what's happening is there are a lot of media bias out here. And what we see is we see one thing that one person says and we just go by it, and we're not doing our own factual research.
Okay, well, what about criminal justice? Trump took us backwards on criminal justice by rescinding and
now
weakening Obama-era protections on policing.
You know I'm not going to let you
go.
You know I'm not going to let you say that. So criminal justice reform. Let's talk about the historic criminal justice reform bill that's going to bring nearly 100,000 people home from prison. So what? Hold on one second. My earpiece fell out. I'm sorry. So what this bill does, so there's a huge difference between the Fair Sentencing Act and the First Step Act. So what the Fair Sentencing Act, what Obama passed, this did not apply to those that had life off of 3 strikes, you're out. So 3 strikes, you're out. This is how the majority of black people ended up in prison. You would commit a crime one time. Let's say I'd be on the street, you'll catch me with a $50 bomb, lock me up, I bond out. You catch me on the street again, I got a $20 bomb, and you lock me up, I bond out. That 3rd time, you can give me life in prison. Like 3 strikes you out is what had the majority of people in prison serving life for marijuana. When President Trump passed the First Step Act, those are the people that benefited from that law, and those are the people, since you brought them up, that Obama left behind. That's how Black America ended up being massively incarcerated, because you can't say, and you know, the First Step Act was bipartisan. We had plenty of Black people that was pushing for this bill to get it passed. So we can't just say Trump rolled us back, because you had everybody fighting.
But that's because Black people were tired of getting nothing in regards to criminal justice reform, so they took a little something. But we can't sit here and act like, you know, Trump's administration.
That's a lot something.
We can't. But listen, even with the First Step Back, we can't act like Trump's administration is not working behind the scenes to undermine those laws and put inmates back behind bars, because he encourages harsher sentences for drug offenses, including nonviolent ones. Yeah, the Department of Justice gave federal prosecutors wider latitude to pursue criminal drug charges and harsher sentences.
Do you know that there's a difference? Between the Department of Justice and the White House administration? Do you know that there's two separate entities? Hold on, wait a minute. You've also seen the DOJ buck against Trump. Don't say that it's Trump's DOJ.
Jeff Sessions and William Barr ride Trump's dick.
Wait a minute, that's not necessarily true, because we've seen DOJ come against people being released for home confinement, being moved closer to their family, going against everything that was passed in the First Step Act. There are lawsuits right now pending against DOJ for them not honoring what Trump signed in the First Step Act. So let's again be beneficial with that. And it's unfair for you guys to say, that Trump passed something in regards to criminal justice reform that rolls people back, because we have thousands of people home now with their families and thousands of people that are on the way. So I think it's selfish of us to not take into consideration our people that's locked in the cage and want to be free and want to come home. There is no guarantee that Joe Biden is going to do anything to fix the law that he passed, because he was in office 8 years and did nothing about it.
That is very true.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it ain't, let our people come home.
It ain't fixed now. Come on now. We still under a white supremacist system.
No, I'm not gonna agree with white. I don't know any racists that would defund Planned Parenthood. I don't know any racist that wants Black babies to be born. It seems to me if this man was a racist, he would give Planned Parenthood all the money that they need, knowing that their abortion clinics are in Black areas. See, we get abortion clinics in our areas. They get fertility clinics in their areas. I don't know any racists that would give so many Black Americans a second chance, including myself. Look at the platform that this administration has given me. My own people, I've been doing community service and fighting for us for 15 years. My own people wouldn't even give me this platform. So for this man to give me, somebody who at the time was uneducated, I'm graduating with my bachelor's now, single mother, I met all the statistics, a chance to pass a law, a chance to have a name, clear my name, a chance to run for office. I can't say that the man is a racist because he didn't have to do it. Because at the end of the day, we know he didn't win with the black vote.
I understand your loyalty to him, but I just want you to know that just because somebody does something good for you doesn't mean they're good for you. I just want to say that.
But he didn't do nothing bad. I can't sit up here and say the man has done anything bad. I can't say he's done anything bad. I can't say I've seen anything bad come out of the administration.
Well, you ain't got no eyeballs, Angela. Put your glasses on. You wear glasses.
Telling me that, contacts, and I'm right there.
LASIK.
But I'm right there in the mix, though, bro.
Well,
maybe you too close. Maybe you too. No. I got to ask 2 more questions because she's running for Congress in Atlanta.
Yes.
And
thank you.
Yeah, Atlanta has a large LGBTQIA+ population.
Here we go.
Listen, do you think that your harsh criticism of that community will hurt your chances of winning a seat in Congress?
I think that they have that they are very vocal. And I think that when it comes to their rights and standing up for what they believe in, I think that they have been given that right. I think that I have every right to say a man is not a woman because it's factual. I think that I have every right to say that we need laws that protect children, right, from becoming too sexually hyper, right, or sexualized. I believe that I have a right to say that. And I believe that the majority of the LGBTQ community also agrees with that, right? They don't have an issue with that. They also agree with that. Why are we hypersexualizing our children before it's time? So I'm not here to take away anybody's
I don't know if they agree with it.
I don't think that identifying as a gender means that you're telling your child to have sex.
Listen, I'm not lying to my children about who they are. That's me. Now, that's my belief. That's no law, right? That's not on the floor. There's nobody voting to say, hey, let's make it a law that parents can't tell their children that they're the opposite sex than what they really are. That's not a law. That's my personal belief, and I believe that I have a right to that. If I want to raise my children into believing that they are who they were born to be, I should have a right, and I shouldn't be criticized for that either.
Right, and then other people should have the right to raise their children as they see fit as well.
And they do. And they do. Mm-hmm. So am I the enemy because I don't agree? Do I have to agree?
If you're causing them to be oppressed in any way, if you're causing them to be marginalized in any way, then yes.
How you causing somebody to be oppressed by telling them the truth? You oppress people by lying to them, which is what the Democrat Party has been doing to us for the last 40 years. You oppress people by lying to them and making them believe in something that's not true and something that's not factual. So let me ask you, DJ Envy, because you have some beautiful children. I follow your page. If one of your sons or your daughter was to come to you and say, Daddy, I'm a boy. I want to go cut my breast off. As a father, what are you going to say to your daughter?
Well,
and she's 11 years old.
That means she's old enough, and she is 17 to 18, and I'm going to support a decision of what she wants to be. I'm going to try to tell. You want me to answer? I want me to answer. So I'm going to try to of course, tell her that I support her in whatever she wants or whatever she feels. If she is underage, she can't do anything until she gets a lot older. But if she is of age, then she can make the decision on her own. But my job is to make sure. But seriously, if she's 18, if she's 19, and she's 20, and she feels that way, then we're going to have the conversation.
So you and I had the same. You and I actually believe the same thing. If they're old enough to make those decisions, then fine.
Correct.
But giving children home
if my 6-year-old says it, then that's something different. But
taking children to the doctor, letting them tell you what their gender is before they are of age is wrong. These are the things that we need to pay attention to. Also, I want to ask you and Charlamagne a question. You know, in New York, they've just made it legal where young underage transgenders can change their birth certificate. So I have 3 sons, right? So
underage at what age? What age? When you say underage, you say under 16?
12, 13, 14, 11, whatever they identify with, they're allowed to legally change their birth certificate. So I have 3 sons. So let's say my 19-year-old son in 5 years from now meets someone from New York that was legally able to change their birth certificate. They get married. He's waited 10, 15 years to have a child, finds out 15 years later that he is not married to a biological woman. He is actually married to a biological man. How is that fair to the person that's been deceived?
I think
nobody's saying that you shouldn't disclose your past, but that's fine.
That's law. That's what's in the Equality Act. That's what they're allowed to do. They're allowed to legally change their birth certificate. So I just don't agree with the deception.
I would wonder if that person would care after all of that time, because you already grew in love with a person. Clearly, you didn't see any difference.
Well,
so
there's women who can't have babies now. Does that mean you're going to leave them?
That's just like if you was married to a woman and she told you she didn't have any children, and then come to find out she got 5 kids stashed off somewhere. You would feel deceived. You would want to marry somebody that will be honest up front with you. You wouldn't want to marry somebody that's going to lie to you and keep a huge part of their life away.
Sounds great, but a lot of people are married to people they were deceived by in many ways. So I don't think you can ever prevent people from not deceiving people in marriage.
It's okay. I guess that's your excuse, because other people are married to somebody that deceived them. What I'm saying
is that if your child identifies in a certain way and what you want is for your child to be happy and not feel oppressed,
do you have
and that's
children?
What they need, then
do you have children?
Nope.
Okay. I have 5 children. And as a mother who has raised children, it is not healthy to mislead your children or to lie to your children and make them believe in something that is not scientifically true. It does not benefit.
I support Gabrielle Union and Dwayne Wade and how they're allowing their child Zaya to grow. I know you don't. And they have children, and that's what I support.
Well, that's fine. I don't support it. I'm with Boosie on this one. I let the man be a man. You could be gay and still be a man. Like who would encourage, how do a 12-year-old boy even know how to feel like a woman? That's questionable. Because if you see a 12-year-old girl,
boy, but see the whole thing.
No. I know what it takes to feel like a woman. Do you? I know what it takes to feel like a woman.
Like you said, you have 5 kids, right? You have 5 kids, and you raise your kids the way you want to raise your kids. I raise my kids the way I want to raise my kids. And they are allowed to raise their kids the way that they want to raise them.
Right, and they're also allowed to be criticized. You're right, and I don't agree. I don't agree that we should encourage. And first of all, how does it benefit Black America? Y'all talking about restoring, right? Black America, restoring our lives, restoring our economy, restoring our families. How does it even benefit Black America to encourage our men to become women? Because first of all, if anybody understands the strategies of war, if it's trying to take out a colony of people, the first thing they do is remove the men. So as a woman, first of all, I need my man. I need my Black man. I need you to be a man. I need you to lead. I don't need you to be competition. I don't need you to feel like you a woman or feel like you are me, because I don't have to give my crown away. So no, I don't support feminizing, especially not our boys. But if you're an old man and you want to make a decision that that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. But I don't have to support it. And I don't. And tell me, how does it benefit us?
I just support happiness and choices. And I know sometimes people have a lot of mental health issues and a lot of trauma associated with people with feeling like they should be ashamed of who they are because of what society tells them that they should be.
Well, you are.
And so I know a lot of times
if you're not being yourself, Angela, you're not making sense. If you're not willing to be yourself,
and if who you are and being yourself is I am a woman, and that's the gender that I am, and that's me being myself, and that's it.
No. Okay. All right. But anyway,
I don't think it's. Yeah, let's move on. But I don't think there's anything wrong with supporting people the same way that you support your son who happens to be gay.
Yeah, you can support them, but you don't have to condone it. You don't have to agree with it. I can support your decision to believe that you're a woman, but that don't mean that I have to encourage it, or I have to condone it, or I have to tell other young boys to go be a princess, or I got to support Billy Porter being on.
We have to go in a second.
Hold on. What'd you say about Billy Porter?
I said, or I don't have to support Billy Porter going on Sesame Street teaching children about LGBTQ, because you can't teach children about being a lesbian or being bisexual or being gay without teaching them about sex. And in heterosexual households, nobody is teaching their children about sex at that young of an age. So I don't have to support
you could be gay and be celibate.
What's gay?
That doesn't mean you're having sex.
What's gay though?
You know what I mean? You could be a lesbian and not be having sex at all.
What's the definition of gay? What's the definition of a lesbian? So let me give you an example.
Yes.
Let me give you an example. So there was a woman that sent me a picture of her child's first grade English book. And inside of that English book, it was a picture of Ellen DeGeneres. And it said up under Ellen DeGeneres is a humanitarian and a lesbian. The 5-year-old baby went home and asked her mom, what's a lesbian? So now that mother has to sit down and explain to her child what a lesbian is at the age of 5 years old. I hate to tell you, but when you open Pandora's box, it cannot be closed. I don't have to explain heterosexuality to my children at the young age of 5 years old. So I shouldn't have to explain two men being together. I shouldn't have to explain two women being together. It's our sexual preference, and we need to keep sex.
So you're saying you shouldn't have to explain any of that. You shouldn't have to explain sex.
Why are we talking
not
about
man, woman?
sex? Why are we talking about, no, that's sexual preference. When you go to talking about lesbian and gay, why are we having that conversation with 5-year-olds or 3-year-olds or 4-year-olds? Because see, me, I was sexually abused at the age of 5. And if it was my choice, I'd have just been happy playing with toys and thinking about Happy Meals. Like, that's too much for their mind. If they're not there yet, we don't even need to introduce. You wouldn't want nobody talking to your kid about sex at 5 years old.
So he was on there talking about
explaining sexual preference.
He was on there talking about having sex. I'm confused.
Well, LGBTQ, if you're explaining it, how do you explain it without talking about sex? It's all about sex. Lesbian means two women that prefer to have sex with each other. Gay means two men that prefer to have sex with each other. A bisexual person is a person that has sex with both sex. I mean, come on, y'all, let's just be real for a minute.
What if it's just attraction though? Because I mean, we're all attracted to, the opposite sex when we're young, or attracted to somebody when we're young. So what if you're a young boy?
We're not. I shouldn't
attracted
have
to
any
another
type
man?
of. Then something wrong, because at 5 years old, why should you be having any type of sexual attraction? Let's be real. Now we're getting into pedophilia. Now we're getting into pedophilia because we're talking about 5-year-old children.
All right, let's this is
get away from that.
I'm gonna tell you,
not going
now, when
anywhere.
I got molested when I was 8, and so I do understand what you're saying because I wasn't thinking about sex and sexual acts before that happened. So I do kind of understand what you're saying just a little bit.
That's all I'm saying. And please stop trying to, create this atmosphere that I'm against LGBTQ, because that's not it. LGBTQ is about sexual choice and sexual preference, which adults have every right to, but I'm just strongly against tying anything that involves sexual choice, sexual preference, sexual anything with children that aren't mature enough to make decisions regarding the consequences that come behind sex. That's where I'm at.
Well, Angela Stanton King, we appreciate you for checking in.
Yeah, Charlene, we gotta
come. Even though I disagree with like 95% of what you say, I enjoy
what you disagree with. What you disagree with? We need to have a conversation on record. Because y'all gonna have to use y'all platform to stop letting these people encourage us that abortion is healthcare and telling us to go kill our offspring, y'all. This is all I want to end with. We can never become the majority as long as we abort our children. If we are tired of being the oppressed minority, we need to rethink abortion. And when it comes to valuing Black life, that's just where I'm at. We can have an off-record conversation. I love to give y'all some facts.
Yeah, I'll always be for our women's right to choose.
We need to address this.
Women's right to choose. Thank you very much. How can they follow you if they want to?
So you guys, Stanton King for Congress is the website. Definitely please visit, look at the policies, look at what it is that I'm fighting for. And on Instagram, I'm the Angela Stanton. Twitter, the Angie Stanton. You guys, thank you so much for having me on the show today. I really appreciate it.
And you have a blessed day, sister.
And you wear a mask at that Klan rally this weekend now in Tulsa. Come on, man. You know I ain't going to no Klan rally, man. Listen. I'm talking about that Trump event.
Listen, man, we support the president and his policies. I ain't gonna tell y'all again, President Trump been doing stuff for Black people. He got a long history of giving to the Black community. At the end of the day, I'm not gonna apologize for going to this man with issues to advance the Black community and him being willing to listen and act. I'm just not gonna apologize for it. The people in prison didn't want to wait 4 years for y'all to get another president, and they definitely not gonna want to wait 4 more. because Joe Biden's going to lose.
Angela, have a great one. Thank you so much.